Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm Tami Stacklehouse, Fibromyalgia Coach, author, and founder of the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute. The goal of this podcast is to empower you with access to the dream team of experts and coaches I've discovered are key to living the fibro life you love. From the comfort of your own home, and maybe even your pajamas, I'll help you take back control of your life and health. To help out with fibro fog, I always include full show notes and additional resources at fibromyalgiapodcast.com. Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tami Stacklehouse, and this is episode 134. Today, I interview Anne and Lily Garner about their experience advocating for fibromyalgia with lawmakers in Washington, D.C. Anne is a certified fibromyalgia coach who has lived with fibromyalgia for over 20 years. Her 14-year-old daughter, Lily, has been living with chronic illness for the last 6 years since she was 8 years old. Lily's been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, ME/CFS, or chronic fatigue syndrome, POTS, and more. I've invited Anne and Lily to talk about how they were finally able to find answers, why they were motivated to speak with lawmakers about funding for fibromyalgia research, about their experience in Washington, D.C. and the reactions they received from their senators, and what's next for them as they continue to advocate for fibromyalgia. In episode 132, just a couple episodes back, advocating for fibromyalgia research funding, Melissa Talwar shared the importance of meeting with lawmakers. Anne and Lily are 2 of 7 people who met in Washington, D.C. for Advocacy Day. As somebody with fibromyalgia, I know you are aware of how fibromyalgia can impact a person's life, but consider these numbers. According to the NIH, fibromyalgia affects 1 in 13 women here in the U.S. Let's put that into perspective with other conditions that have a lot of funding and advocacy. So remember, fibromyalgia affects 1 in 13 women. That is the same number of women who are diagnosed with cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is 1 in 13 women. 1 in 8 women are affected by breast cancer, and 1 in 25 women are diagnosed with colon cancer. That's right, about twice as many women are diagnosed with fibromyalgia as are diagnosed with colon cancer. Now, granted, you're not going to die from fibromyalgia like you might die from colon cancer, but living with fibromyalgia pain and fatigue is sort of its own kind of death. Again, I don't have to tell you that. You know what that's like. And my point in sharing these numbers is to show the huge gap in advocacy and awareness for these various conditions. Everyone knows, every woman, and some men even, know to get a mammogram each year to screen for breast cancer. Every woman has had an annual exam to screen for cervical cancer. After you get to a certain age, everybody's screened for colon cancer. And yet your doctor may never have been taught how to screen for fibromyalgia, or more importantly for us, how to treat it. In fact, they are still teaching in some places that fibromyalgia is a psychological disorder. It's crazy. In order for this to change, we have to have more funding for research, which is why I am so proud of Anne, Lily, Melissa, and everyone who spent their time, energy, and money advocating on behalf of our entire community. This is what we need to actually affect change. Now, be sure and stay tuned after my interview with Anne and Lily. We have some additional resources for you and some information about upcoming Fibromyalgia Awareness Month events. With Fibromyalgia Awareness Day being May 12th, we've also sort of taken the whole month for Awareness Month. So please check out our show notes at fibromyalgiapodcast.com/134, or stay tuned at the end. We'll have some information about events that are coming up. Welcome, Anne. Welcome, Lily. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast to share your story. Welcome.
Thank you. We're happy to be here today.
Awesome. Now, Anne, I did just introduce you, read your bio to everybody before we came on here. But Lily, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your diagnoses and how we ended up here?
Hi, my name's Lily and I'm 14. And I have fibromyalgia, ME/CFS, POTS, restless leg syndrome, depression, anxiety, ADHD, and PTSD.
That's a lot for a 14-year-old. And you weren't just diagnosed with these either, right? Like some of these you were diagnosed younger.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with ME/CFS, POTS, and restless leg syndrome when I was 10. It was in December of 2020 at
Wow.
connec.
Yeah. And how was that for you, Anne, as mom, trying to find these diagnoses? I know it was a bit of a journey for you.
Yeah, it was. She got mono when she was 8, and it took us 2 years to get to Mayo Clinic. So in that 2 years, you can imagine all the doctors we went to. Specifically, her family doctor, he did not believe that she was sick. He just kept saying, just send her to school. She's fine. And I'm like, she's not fine. And I had a little bit of pushback at home as well. And I think some of it is because I've had fibro for over years and I've been dealing with this, and I'm looking at her and I'm like, this is happening to my kid and this isn't a good thing. So I don't even know if I can count how many doctors we went to. We had to go to 2 different states at that time. And then a lot of the blood work and stuff came back. She didn't have anything really scary. That was a concern at first, but it was just like, I was so frustrated because nobody would listen. The medical gaslighting that all of us with fibro have to deal with is ridiculous.
And I'm sure there was even more of that because of Lily's age, right? There's this idea that you aren't supposed to be that sick if you're young.
Yeah, when we went to Mayo Clinic, I don't remember if Mom was mentioning fibro or not.
Oh, yeah.
But what I do remember is back when I was 12, about to turn 13, when I was diagnosed with fibro, at some point we talked to Mayo Clinic about this group of people, like young people that all have fibro or ME/CFS. And they said, no, you can't join because you're under 13. You can't have fibro if you're not 13, so you can't join this group.
So you can't have fibromyalgia if you're not 13 yet. I didn't know there was an age limit to these things.
And it's funny because I got diagnosed when I was 12.
Yeah.
And that was after going to 3 other states besides our own.
That's crazy. That is
And finally,
crazy.
there was a fabulous doctor in Minnesota, and she started a nonprofit for ME/CFS. So she's been very helpful. Now we're actually able to do stuff in the city where we live. This is what's really ironic is the week we were going to Mayo Clinic, I was in a fibro group online and I was like, hey, anybody have a kid that has fibro too? Or not fibro, having symptoms. And the lady that ran it, she's let me check with somebody. And she's, is it okay if I send your info to this gal? And I'm like, yeah, sure. She ended up being one of your coaches, Tami. And her daughter had chronic fatigue. She helped me, gave me some info before we went to Mayo. And then after we went to Mayo, and that's how I first heard about the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute was from her. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, this is what I want to do. I can do this. This is a job I can do.
That's right. That's right. Because you have fibromyalgia as well. And I'm sure that both made you a good advocate for Lily because you knew you've been through this yourself. But I'm sure that also made it harder, right? Because you have your own stuff you're dealing with.
It's been a really long journey. You've known me for probably 3 years, and more than 3 years, actually, I think at this point. But I ended up losing my job because of my health. And I know it's all kind of crazy, but I didn't really think about myself as much until I started thinking about my daughter. And I'm like, I'm advocating for her. How come I'm not advocating for myself? And that's when I really started digging into getting some help and working with one of your coaches.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, you guys just are like back just a few weeks, I think now, from having gone to Washington, D.C. A couple episodes ago, I had Melissa Talwar on here talking a little bit about that. What made you guys want to travel all the way to Washington, D.C., spend precious time and energy and money to talk with those lawmakers about fibromyalgia?
Lily was invited.
Oh,
So that's how it all started. Melissa invited Lily to come to Washington, D.C.
how was that for you, Lily?
It was good. I think it was really important for me to be there, not to be rude, but all of you are old and they don't care about old people, and everyone knows that they don't care about old people dealing with stuff like this because, oh yeah, you're gonna die in like a couple decades anyway. What they care about is the youth. So if they
Right.
see youth, the next generation of their country, dealing with this, then they're going to care. So I come in person, tell my story and stuff, and then they start caring because they see that youth is dealing with this rather than some 50-year-old that's going to die in 20 years anyway.
Ouch.
She's not that wrong, though.
Yeah, I know.
It is a different thing when you're looking at somebody who's already lived most of their life versus looking at our youth who are supposed to, like, you guys are supposed to be the ones who are going to take care of us, who are going to run the country, who are going to do all the things. And what happens if our future is also sick? That's
Right.
not good. Yeah.
It was really amazing. Our state senator from South Dakota, one of them, took the time and he wanted to meet Lily. And we're sitting there at the table with him. And I'm looking down. There was 2 other gals that went with us. There was a total of 7 women and Lily. 7 of us that went to Washington, D.C. And we were from, 5 different states? And we were the only ones from South Dakota, and no one's ever been there from South Dakota before. So looking down at the table, when I started out, I'm 53. I'm like, my daughter just turned 14. I've had fibro for 24 years, and we're going on 5 years. She's been sick for 5 years. And down the table, we had somebody that was in their 60s and somebody that was in their 30s. And so I'm like, we have this whole generation. And that's when the senator looked at Lily and said, basically, well, we're going to get some changes made, and this is not going to be decades. We're talking years.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about like the conversations that you had and outcomes and things like that. But to get more specific for people who are hearing this and thinking, yeah, but what did you actually do? How did you spend your time? What did you do while you were there? Like literally.
Mainly, if we weren't looking out DC, Old Town, Alexandria, if we weren't looking there, just like walking or driving around in an Uber, we were either resting at one of the hotels or actually going to Congress or Senate and talking to them.
And those meetings, they were prearranged, right? Like you had scheduled appointments with them. Yeah.
Yes, they were all scheduled. And Melissa Talwar, she's the one that, it's amazing how, for the advocacy, Lily and I have been doing advocacy. That was our 3rd year. We did 2 years that were virtual because of COVID. So this was the first year that anybody came back to Washington, D.C.
That's amazing. And I bet that made such an impact, like actually being in person.
Looking back on it now, it's an wow, I can't believe we did that. And you could tell we told their story and you could see them on the look of the people on their faces of, I had CPS called on me because my daughter wasn't in school and I couldn't get her into the online program. Can you imagine? You're doing all this stuff. It was horrible. I'm not the only parent this happens to. I know a lot of other moms and dads that this has happened to them. And it's just, oh, she can't be sick. But yeah, she can be. And she is. And it's not made up. And that's a big thing where the advocacy piece is so needed because people don't listen. People that we've known, and there's a lot of people that don't get it. You look fine. How come you can just get all your stuff done? You just look fine. So what's the problem?
Yeah, you look fine. You can't be sick. You're so young. You look fine. There was someone in DC, a couple people. One of them there was a group of 3 boys who just looked at me. They were like high school. And they started laughing and they whispered to themselves. I think they did it quietly. It's like a way that I won't be able to hear. But I have sensory issues, so I hear anyway. And they basically said something along the lines of, oh, look, someone in a wheelchair, and then laughed and walked away.
You can't even imagine. Even we've had issues at places that she's been where kids don't even open up the door. We were lucky enough to have the Sherry Little Foundation donated $1,000 towards a scooter. So Lily, now I paid $250 for a scooter. And now Lily has a scooter. So she can go to the mall. She can do all kinds of stuff. We're waiting to go to the zoo. We've got all these different places we can go now.
Has that changed life for you, Lily?
But yeah.
She can go really fast.
I know you've got a little red sporty one. It looks like it should go fast.
Yeah, it's cool because the best way it's changed is that now I don't have to wait for my mom.
She leave you in the dust, Anne. She rides off into the sunset.
Yeah, we're like at the mall and she's 2 blocks ahead of me. I'm like, whoa, slow down a little bit, will you?
Well, yeah, because I can actually do that now because in the transport chair, I didn't actually have wheels. The only way I can move was by using my feet. And then of course, you don't listen to me when I try and ask you to move me somewhere. So of course, I'm going to speed past you. I have the control.
That's what happens.
That little thing you just said there, Lily, about having control, like that's really what it's all about, right? Having your own independence, being able to literally move yourself around yourself. It's such a thing that healthy people take for granted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you guys were in DC, I know you met with your senator. Was it your senator or your
one of them.
Yeah. And you spent a lot of time resting. How do you think that it went? Do you feel like they were really listening and paying attention and wanting to make change?
I really do. And I think having Lily there was huge because, like I said, you've got generations of women there. Somebody 14, somebody in their 60s. You have this big generation. This has been going on for years. And
Lily, you were in your wheelchair, right? I bet that made an impact too.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a lot of work actually too for me. I was tired afterwards.
What is next for you guys? Lily, I'll start with you. What's next for you now that you're back from DC? Are you going to continue with your advocacy work?
Yeah, we've continued doing some advocacy work. An example would be sending in stuff to the governor and mayor of our state and city to get proclamations from each state Fibromyalgia Awareness Month.
That's
So I
awesome.
think continuing stuff like that.
That's great. And how about you, Anne? What's next for you?
For me, I'm a Certified Fibromyalgia Coach. I went through your training and I have learned everything there is to know about fibro. But there's still more to learn because everybody knows.
Always. Yeah.
So I'm coaching and I have started my own business, Fibro Family Coach. And Lily and I have been talking a bit about, we're trying to figure out how we're going to do what we're going to do, but we're going to have something for adolescents because there really isn't anything out there. One other thing with Lily, so apparently there's Pediatric Pain Foundation. Lily's going to camp in June.
That's
and she's
awesome.
never been to camp. So we get to go down to Texas and go to camp. So
That's
that's going to be
awesome.
pretty exciting.
Congratulations, Lily. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So, Anne, with the work that you do, who is it that you work with? What kind of work do you do? Who do you help?
I help moms like myself, walking them through different things, such as you got to first take care of yourself before you can start helping your kids. If your kids have fibro or whatever, too. Everybody has a little something different going on, but I specialize in working with moms with fibromyalgia because I know a lot of the ins and outs of how to help them.
Now, Anne, I know you also put together like a free ebook or something with tips and things for your people as well, right?
Yes, that's correct.
You want to tell us a little about it and how people can get one?
I put together, it's a guide to some of my tips and tricks to help moms run their home a little bit easier with your fibro. There's different things in there, shopping, things with your kids. It's gift.fibrofamilycoach.com.
Awesome. And we'll have that link in today's show notes too. So you can go to fibromyalgiapodcast.com/134 and we'll have today's show notes. We'll have a link too. And so as we wrap up, Anne, I'll ask you this first. For the people who are listening, who are maybe they're moms of kids who have fibromyalgia or just moms with fibro or other people thinking about the advocacy work that you've done, what do you want them to know? I want you just to speak from your heart to theirs. And what do you want them to really take away from this?
It is possible to get your life back from what fibro has taken away from you. I'm the mom that I want to be again. That's basically what I'm working to do, is help the other moms be the moms they want to be. Because when you have fibro, there's times that you miss out on your kids' school activities, sporting activities. It's hard, and not everybody understands that. And even right now, I'm working with several different women coaching, and it's amazing when they first talk to me, they're just like, because they're like, oh my gosh, you understand. That was even when we went to Washington, D.C., what an amazing deal, because you have this group of women that get it, they understand. And that's the big thing, that I'm helping them be the moms they want to be.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And as a mom, that's like what you want, right? To be able to be the mom you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even 5 years ago, I never dreamed I'd be where I'm at. I'm on disability and I'm working to get myself off of disability. I never thought that would happen. I never thought it was a possibility. So
That's awesome. And how about you, Lily, thinking about either the moms of teens with have fibromyalgia, or if there are teens with fibro who are listening, or just anybody else, what do you want to make sure that they take away from this?
No matter how small, any type of advocacy you do will have an impact and will work and make things better for everyone. There's this comic online that's along the lines of Shark One panel where someone just says, oh, but I'm just one person, I can't make a difference. And then it cuts to 5 panels, the same thing, then to 100 panels, the same thing, then to just 1,000.
Yes. Yes.
And it just shows how that mentality is wrong, and how even though you are just one person, it can make a huge difference.
That's right. That's right. We all can only do a little. Some people somehow do a lot, but most of us can do a little. But if all of us do a little and you add all those little bits together, it can be a lot and it can make a difference. Yep. That's awesome. Thank you both for being here, for sharing your story, but even more, thank you both for going to Washington, D.C., for advocating really for all of us, for our entire community, and just being willing to share your stories and be examples. We need more people to do what you're doing. So thank you from myself and from the community. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
And thank you for doing what you're doing too, because without you, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't have changed my life, and I wouldn't be able to help other people. And I really want to say how proud I am of my daughter, because she has just been doing some amazing things, and I see a very bright future for her.
Yes, I will second that. Lily, you are a rock star. And I hope you continue to have the opportunities to keep doing what you're doing, because we need people like you who are going to go out there and change the world, even if it's one little bit at a time. And that wraps up my interview with Ann and Lily Garner. To get a copy of Ann's free ebook with tips on how you can manage your home easier as a fibro mom, just visit today's show notes, fibromyalgiapodcast.com/134, and we'll have the link right there for you. Ann is also one of the coaches you can schedule a consultation with on our Find a Coach page. Just go to findafibrocoach.com. Or again, today's show notes page. I especially recommend meeting with Ann if you have a child struggling with chronic health issues. Again, especially if you have a kid with chronic health issues and you're a mom with chronic health issues. That is exactly Ann's situation, and she can absolutely help you. If you would like to learn more about fibromyalgia advocacy and why research funding is so important, I would recommend starting with episode 132, Advocating for Fibromyalgia Research Funding with Melissa Talwar. And if you'd like to learn more about juvenile fibromyalgia, I'd recommend starting with episode 16. Yes, way back at the beginning. Fibromyalgia in Children with Dr. Melissa Congdon is a great starting place if you think your child might be dealing with fibromyalgia. Last, I want to share some special events that are happening this month for fibromyalgia awareness. If you happen to be anywhere near Zurich, Switzerland, one of my students is helping to organize the first public Fibromyalgia Awareness Day event in Switzerland this year. Jeanette is doing a fantastic job. It is going to be on Sunday, May 12th, from 1:30 to 4 p.m. in Zurich. I will have a link to the information on today's show notes page if you would like to attend. It is open to the public. Just go to fibromyalgiapodcast.com/134. And since most of us will not be in Zurich this year, I'd also love to invite you to an online event with Dr. Ginevra Lipton on Saturday, May 11th from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. This is the 23rd annual Fibromyalgia Awareness Day event hosted by the Fibromyalgia Association and my friend Sharon Waldrop. You've probably heard Dr. Ginevra on this podcast many times. She is a fibromyalgia specialist who was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in medical school. In this event, she's going to be sharing her own fibromyalgia management strategies, as well as the role of scientific breakthroughs in your healing. This is a virtual event and it's open to the public, so anyone hearing this podcast is welcome to attend. The registration is only $15. We'll have a link in today's show notes where you can register online, fibromyalgiapodcast.com/134. And as Lily mentioned in the interview, there is a group of us who are working together to get governor proclamations in each state declaring May to be Fibromyalgia Awareness Month. The proclamations are starting to come in as I record this. So for the most up-to-date list of which states have approved May as Fibromyalgia Awareness Month, or May 12th as Fibromyalgia Awareness Day, just follow me on social media. I'll be posting the map on there, or you can go check out today's show notes page. Again, fibromyalgiapodcast.com/134 for today's show notes, or pretty much Fibro Coach on any social media platform you'll find me. Now I've got this week's listener shout out for you. This comes from Sue, who had just taken the Fibromyalgia Wellness Style quiz and received her email with her advanced profile and tips. She says, "This is encouraging. Thank you for being here. I am hoping to no longer be isolated. Thank you again." If you're like Sue and you're feeling isolated, you are not alone. I encourage you to go take the free Fibromyalgia Wellness Style quiz to learn what your fibromyalgia wellness style is and what kinds of support are best for your wellness style. Once you learn that, you can then connect with a coach for one-on-one support or enroll in one of our classes to join a supportive community of people who truly understand you. The quiz is available on today's show notes page, fibromyalgiapodcast.com/134. Now, since this month is Fibromyalgia Awareness Month, Awareness Day, I do have a couple special episodes that'll be coming out this month where you will actually get to hear me be interviewed on somebody else's podcast. So watch for those to be coming. And our next episode, episode 135, will be with Dr. Robin Pfaff about her brand new book that is just coming out this month. As I leave you today, I want to leave you with a quote from Margaret Mead that I immediately thought of as Lily wrapped up our interview earlier. She was talking about how each person doing a small amount of advocacy can really make a difference. And it made me think of this quote from Margaret Mead. "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." So go out there, do your part, and let's change the world. See you back here next time. And that wraps up another episode of the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tami Stacklehouse. For daily doses of hope, inspiration, and practical advice, come hang out with me on Facebook. Visit facebook.com/fibrocoach to find my personal coaching page and connect with me directly. To find the show notes, additional resources, or to schedule a consultation with me or one of my coaches, visit fibromyalgiapodcast.com.